Inside Lamodello, Colombia's most dangerous prison, secrets exposed. Hit subscribe now because what you're about to hear isn't in any government report. Like this video, comment if you dare. But understand that the moment you know the truth about Lamodello, you'll never see prisons the same way again. The sound of gunfire still echoed across the courtyard when Inspector Ana Morales stepped through the broken gate. It was 9:45 a.m. on April 27, 2000, and Bogotá's infamous Lamodello prison smelled of burned plastic, tear gas, and blood. Bullet holes pocked the concrete like a rash. Prisoners crouched behind overturned tables, hands on their heads, while guards yelled commands no one obeyed. The smoke hung so thick that Ana's eyes watered before she reached the inner yard. She had been summoned after an incident between rival inmates. What she found looked more like a battlefield. Hours earlier, a routine search of cell block 4 had spiraled into a massacre. Paramilitary inmates, some tied to right-wing death squads, had clashed with guerrilla-aligned prisoners in a fight over control of smuggling routes inside the prison. Knives and pistols had been hidden in hollowed-out bread loaves, rifles passed through laundry carts, and grenades concealed in sacks of rice. By dawn, the cell block's floor was slick with water and blood, as inmates tried to wash away evidence of killings that had already claimed more than 20 lives. Ana stepped over a fallen metal door and moved toward the central corridor. Shouting rose from the far end, two guards dragging an injured man by his armpits, his shirt shredded, eyes rolling back. He muttered something about a tunnel, about the passage under the chapel, before fainting. Ana bent down, checked his pulse, and signaled for medics, but the medics were nowhere to be seen. In Lamodello, even emergency teams waited for permissi. A sudden noise behind her made her spin. Two prisoners stood at the tunnel's entrance, knives in their hands, eyes wide with the adrenaline of the riot. One hissed, "You don't belong here." Before Ana could react, a third figure appeared, Camilo. His uniform was torn, his badge gone, but his voice was steady. "Leave her," he told the prisoners. "She's with me." The men hesitated, then melted back into the shadows. Camilo grabbed Ana's arm. "You're crazy to be here," he whispered. "They're moving the bodies. If you don't get out now, you'll end up as one of them." Ana pulled free. "You said you had the ledger." Camilo's eyes darted toward cell block 5. "It's there, but Herrera knows. He's cleaning house." In that moment, a sharp crack echoed through the tunnel. Not a gunshot, but the sound of metal on metal. The grate ahead swung open, and two masked men stepped through carrying a tarp-wrapped bundle. As they passed, the edge of the tarp slipped, revealing a human hand, pale and still. Ana bit back a gasp. This wasn't just a smuggling operation, it was a slaughterhouse. Camilo pushed her back. "Go!" he hissed. "If they see you..." But it was too late. The man in the white shirt had turned toward the tunnel. Even with his mask, Ana felt his gaze lock onto hers. He raised one hand, and the masked men dropped the tarp. From inside spilled not one body but pieces, dismembered limbs, as if to send a message. Ana's flashlight flickered. The tunnel lights went out. Darkness swallowed them whole. She heard Camilo's breathing quicken. "They're coming," he whispered. Footsteps approached from both ends of the tunnel. Ana reached for the small pistol strapped under her jacket, unauthorized, but she'd brought it anyway. She had one shot at survival and one chance at the truth. A voice rang out in Spanish from the darkness. "Bring her alive. The comandante wants to talk." "Bring me what she took." Ana landed hard on wet concrete. She was in another tunnel, this one colder, lined with ancient bricks. She staggered to her feet, flashlight shaking in her hand. The paper was still in her grip, damp but legible. She could hear water running somewhere ahead. Then a faint light appeared at the far end, a rectangle of daylight through a barred grate. Freedom. She ran toward it, splashing through puddles. But as she neared the grate, she saw something that made her stop. Beyond the bars, in a hidden courtyard, dozens of fresh graves had been dug. Wooden crosses stood in crooked rows, some marked only with numbers. In the center, a backhoe idled, its engine humming. Two men in guard uniforms stood beside it, smoking, waiting. Ana realized with a jolt that these weren't old graves. They were digging now. One of the guards looked up, as if sensing her presence. Their eyes met through the bars. He smiled, slow and cold, and reached for his radio. Ana turned to run back down the tunnel, but a figure stepped from the shadows. blocking her path. Not Herrera. Someone younger, eyes sharp, holding a phone. He raised it, snapped a photo of her, and whispered, "They already know." Before she could react, the tunnel lights flickered and a metal door slammed shut behind her with a clang that echoed like a gunshot. The sound of footsteps multiplied. Trapped between the graves outside and the men closing in, Anna clutched the paper to her chest. In that instant, she understood. The massacre upstairs wasn't the story. This was a secret burial ground inside Lamodello, hidden beneath the chapel, protected by guards, run by commanders. The ledger she held was proof and a death sentence. Somewhere in the darkness, a voice said, "Give us the paper and we'll let you live." Anna swallowed hard. The air smelled of earth and iron. She had a decision to make. She took the picture anyway, hoping the metadata would survive long enough to be uploaded later. Then she spotted something half buried near the newest grave. A badge, Camillo's badge. Her stomach turned. They'd dragged him out of the tunnels already. A sudden shout froze her in place. One guard had noticed the bent bar. He strode toward the grate, calling for backup. Anna ducked behind the backhoe's cab and spotted a door set into the courtyard wall, marked Archivo, Archive. She darted toward it, boots silent on the soil. The door was unlocked. She slipped inside and closed it softly. The room smelled of mildew and old paper. Shelves rose to the ceiling, stacked with boxes labeled 1978 Riot, 93 Fire, 2000 Incident. She ran her hand over the labels. This was the prison's forgotten memory, a paper trail of violence hidden under official silence. If she could get even one box out, she could blow open the whole story. She picked up the most recent file, 2000 Incident. Inside were photos, grainy shots of bodies in the chapel, guards standing idly by, handwritten lists of missing inmates. At the bottom, a sheet with bank transfers, names of companies, account numbers, sums large enough to buy a politician. She snapped photos of everything. A faint creak made her freeze. Someone else was in the archive. She turned slowly. A young man stood in the doorway, the same one who had taken her picture in the tunnel. He wasn't masked now. His eyes were sharp but not cruel. He held his phone like a talisman. "You shouldn't be here," he said quietly. "You work for Herrera?" Anna asked. He shook his head. "I work for the truth, like you." Anna frowned. "Then why take my picture?" "They don't believe you're real. They think you're a myth, a ghost the press sends to scare them. Now they know you're here." He stepped closer, voice urgent. "You have to leave. Tonight too. He'll move everything. The ledger, the bodies, the weapons. By morning, it will all be gone." "I'm not leaving without proof," she said. He glanced at the shelves. "Then take this." He pulled a flash drive from his pocket and pressed it into her hand. "It has scans of the ledgers, photos, audio, everything. I've been collecting it for 2 years. If Herrera finds me, I'm dead." "Why trust me?" she asked. "Because you're the only one who came inside." Footsteps pounded in the courtyard outside, shouts in Spanish. The young man's eyes widened. "They're here! Go out of the back!" He pointed to a narrow stairwell leading upward. "It leads to the chapel." Anna hesitated. "Come with me." He shook his head. "If I leave now, they'll kill my family. Go." She gripped his arm once, then turned and ran up the stairs. The door at the top opened into the chapel's sacristy, its wooden panels scorched from past fires. Candles flickered on an altar stained with old wax. She ducked behind a confessional as 2 guards entered, scanning with flashlights. Their beams played over the pews, the trapdoor she'd used earlier now shut. Anna's phone buzzed silently in her pocket. A new text from an unknown number. "Roof now." She waited until the guards passed, then slipped to the back of the chapel and climbed a narrow ladder to the roof. Cold night air hit her face. Bogotá's skyline glimmered in the distance, just out of reach. From here, she could see the entire prison. The yards, the walls, the watchtowers. Sirens wailed outside the perimeter, police reinforcements arriving too late. She crouched near the edge, breathing hard. The flash drive felt heavy in her pocket, a lifeline and a death warrant all at once. Below, headlights cut across the yard as trucks loaded with crates rolled toward a hidden gate. Even from this height, she could see the silhouettes of rifles inside the boxes. Then a door slammed behind her. She turned. Commander Herrera stepped onto the roof, flanked by 2 men with rifles. He looked almost elegant in his white shirt, as if he'd come from a dinner party rather than a slaughter. The city lights cast his face half in shadow. "You're persistent," he said. I admire that. But you're trespassing in a world you don't understand. Anna rose slowly, hands out. I understand enough. I have your names, your accounts, your graves. Herrera smiled faintly. Do you think anyone will believe you? This prison has been a war zone for decades. A few more dead bodies, a few more rumors. It's nothing. I have proof, she said. Proof burns, he replied. He gestured. One of the men held up a jerry can, sloshing liquid. And so do people. A helicopter's thump echoed from beyond the walls. Searchlights swept closer. Herrera's smile flickered. Ah, he said, your friends. Too late. Anna glanced over the edge. The trucks were moving faster now, the hidden gate opening to the outside. If they escaped tonight, the ledgers and weapons would vanish forever. She needed to stall him. Why bury them? She asked, nodding toward the graves. Why not just make them disappear? For a moment, Herrera's mask slipped. Because they were traitors, he said softly. Because fear needs a grave. He raised his hand. One of the men stepped forward, rifle up. Then, from the far end of the roof, a new voice. Drop it. The young man from the archive emerged from a service hatch, a small pistol in his hand. His face was pale but steady. It's over, Herrera. Herrera laughed. You, my little archivist? He shook his head. You think you can kill me? No, the young man said, but I can tell the world. He held up his phone. We're live. Herrera's smile vanished. Give me the phone. Come take it, the young man said. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The helicopter's searchlight swept across the roof, blinding everyone. Anna seized the moment, lunging for the flash drive in her pocket. She raised it above her head and shouted, I have everything! The rifle swung toward her, and then the roof gave a shudder as something exploded in the yard below. A truck crashing into a wall, maybe, or a grenade. The shockwave knocked them off balance. The young man fired once, the bullet sparking off metal. Herrera ducked, cursing. Anna scrambled toward the edge, eyes on the helicopter hovering just beyond the wall. A rope ladder unfurled from its side, swaying in the downdraft. She reached for it, but a hand clamped on her wrist. Herrera, give it to me, he hissed, or you die here. She met his eyes. Then we both do. Below, flames licked at the trucks. Sirens wailed louder. The young man shouted something she couldn't hear. The helicopter banked closer, its spotlight locking on Anna and Herrera, locked in a struggle at the roof's edge. The flash drive slipped from her fingers, tumbling into the dark yard below. Herrera's grip tightened. Too late, he said. Anna drove her knee into his stomach. He grunted, loosened his hold just enough for her to twist free. She grabbed the rope ladder with both hands as bullets cracked around her. The ladder jerked upward. Herrera lunged, fingers grazing the hem of her jacket, but missed. As the helicopter lifted, Anna looked down. Herrera stood at the roof's edge, face upturned, the yard below a chaos of fire and running figures. The flash drive lay somewhere in the flames. The young man was gone. Anna clung to the ladder, wind tearing at her hair, heart pounding. She had lost the drive but kept the paper half of the ledger hidden in the tunnel. Herrera still held the prison, but now he knew she existed, and she knew the graves were real. As the prison receded beneath her, she felt no triumph, only a cold certainty. The war had just begun, and Lamodello's secrets were far from finished. A text vibrated in her phone, somehow still in her pocket. From an unknown number, you have one night. The rest burns at dawn. She stared at the message as Bogotá's lights spread beneath her like a field of embers. Rain hammered the windows of the safe house where Ana Morales sat hunched over a plastic table. It was 2:30 a.m., only a few hours since she had been lifted off Lamodello's roof. Her clothes were damp with sweat and soot, and a thin bandage crossed her arm where the barbed grate had cut her. On the table lay the only thing she had left from the prison, the torn half of Camillo's ledger page, smudged but still legible. Outside, Bogotá hissed with wet tires and distant sirens. She felt like a fugitive more than an inspector. Across from her sat Colonel Ruiz of the National Police. He was supposed to be her ally, the one who had authorized her infiltration in the first place. But as he scanned the paper, his jaw tightened. "This is dangerous," he said. "You've crossed a line." "I crossed it when I saw the graves," Ana replied. "We can't pretend anymore." He slid the paper back to her. "Without the flash drive, it's your word against theirs. By dawn, they'll have moved the bodies, burned the files, and transferred Herrera to another prison under a new name. If you go public now, you'll be discredited or worse. Ana leaned forward. Then we go in now, with reinforcements, before dawn. Ruiz looked at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head. You don't understand. This isn't just a prison scandal, it's a network. Politicians, contractors, even my own people. You expose them, you're dead. Then why did you authorize me? His eyes flicked toward the door. Because someone wanted you inside. Someone higher up. He lowered his voice. And they're not happy you survived. The words landed like a stone in Anna's stomach. All at once the room felt smaller, the shadows deeper. She realized she didn't know who had sent the anonymous text to. Guess who had arranged the helicopter, who had leaked the archive's existence. She had been led through the prison like a pawn on a board. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. Lighthouse, 3 a.m., bring what you have. Same number as before. She stood. I have to go. Ruiz blocked the door. Ana, don't. It's a trap. Maybe, she said, but maybe it's the only way out. He hesitated, then stepped aside. Take care, he murmured. She slipped into the rain and hailed a motorcycle taxi. The city blurred around her as they sped toward the outskirts, where the old lighthouse stood on a crumbling cliff above the Bogotá River. The driver dropped her at the gate and vanished. She climbed the steps alone, heart thudding with every crack of thunder. Inside, the lighthouse smelled of damp stone and diesel. Its spiral staircase wound upward into darkness. At the top, a single lantern burned. Beside it stood the young man from the archive. He looked even younger now, his hair plastered to his forehead, his hands trembling. You made it, he said. You lost the drive, she replied. He shook his head. I had a backup. I uploaded it to a secure server before the riot. Everything. The graves, the weapons, the names. But I need your half of the ledger to match the accounts. Otherwise, it's just noise. Ana reached into her coat and pulled out the torn paper. This is all I have. He took it gently, eyes scanning the smudged numbers. With this, he whispered, we can bring them down. A sound echoed below, footsteps on the stairs. The young man's head snapped up. They followed you. Ana drew her pistol. We have to get out. He shook his head. Too late. Uploading now. He tapped at a small laptop perched on the window ledge. Progress bars crawled across the screen. 30%, he muttered. Shadows moved on the staircase. A voice rose, familiar and calm. Date. Active Morales. Bring me what you stole, and you live. Herrera. Ana's pulse spiked. He's supposed to be inside. He owns inside, the young man whispered. And outside. The first masked man appeared on the landing, rifle raised. Ana fired once, the shot sparking off the stone wall. The man ducked back. Keep uploading, she shouted. 50%, the young man said. Another shot cracked, chipping stone near her head. Ana crouched behind the lantern. Rain blew in through a broken window, misting the laptop's keyboard. 70%, he muttered. Herrera's voice floated up, almost amused. You can't win. Even if you upload it, no one will believe it. Ana shouted back. They'll see the graves. Graves can be explained, he said. You can't. Footsteps again, closer now. 2 more men appeared, moving low. Ana fired twice, forcing them back, but her magazine was nearly empty. The young man's hands shook over the keyboard. 90%. Then a single shot cracked. He gasped, clutching his side. Blood blossomed under his shirt. Ana caught him as he fell. Stay with me, she said. He smiled weakly. Almost there. The laptop chimed. Upload complete, the screen read. Below, Herrera cursed, his calm broken for the first time. Destroy it, he roared. The young man's eyes fluttered. Too late, he whispered. It's out. Ana looked at the laptop. An icon blinked. A live link to an international news agency's secure inbox. Photos, ledgers, audio, all sent. She dragged the young man toward the window. We're leaving, but he shook his head. I can't. Go. No, she said. Not after everything. He pressed a small USB stick into her palm. Back up, for when they call it fake. Herrera's men surged onto the landing. Ana fired her last shot, shattering the lantern. Darkness engulfed the room. She grabbed the young man and pulled him through the broken window onto the narrow balcony outside. Rain lashed them, wind howling. Below, the river churned. Herrera stepped into the doorway, silhouette backlit by flashlights. End of the line, he said. Ana climbed onto the railing, the young man's arm over her shoulders. "Stay back," she warned. Herrera took a step forward. "You jump, you die." She looked down at the river, then back at him. "Better than staying." She pushed off. Cold water swallowed them. The current dragged them under, spinning them against rocks. She kicked upward, lungs burning, and broke the surface gasping. The young man floated beside her, barely conscious. She held him up as the river carried them downstream. By dawn, they crawled onto a muddy bank miles from the prison. The young man lay pale and still. Anna pressed her fingers to his neck. A faint pulse. He was alive, for now. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A news alert. Leaked documents reveal mass graves and cartel control inside Lamodello Prison. Photos from the archive filled the screen. Names, numbers, graves. It had gone public. She looked at the rising sun over Bogota. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Somewhere behind those walls, Herrera was still in control, but the world now knew his kingdom's secrets. The young man stirred, eyes opening. "Did it work?" he whispered. Anna nodded. "It's everywhere." He smiled weakly. Then it was worth it. A helicopter thundered overhead, this time with police markings. Anna waved weakly, holding up the USB stick. For the first time in months, she felt the weight of fear lift, replaced by something sharper. Resolve. She whispered into the wind, "If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for what comes next." Behind her, the river carried away the last of the night's blood. Ahead, the city waited, and with it, the fight to make the truth matter.